so I wanted to teach you guys how to make a bulk recipe and divide that into servings. So my FitnessPal actually makes that super easy for us. So I'm gonna show you how I would create the recipe and put it into my FitnessPal, and then you can divide it into the servings. Today I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna make a big batch of quinoa. This is something that's super easy to have on hand. You can put it in the fridge for leftovers and grab from it, and I'll show you how to know exactly how much your serving weighs. So for this recipe, I'm going to have just my raw organic quinoa, my organic salsa, and then chicken bone broth, and a little bit of onion. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of quinoa. So if you look on your label, a 1/4 cup dry is 44 grams. So since we want a cup, we're going to multiply 44 times 4. I already did the math for that. It's 176 grams. So I'm just gonna take my pot, put it directly on my scale, turn it on, and then I'm gonna weigh out 176 grams. If I can get the bag open. So make sure your scale is on grams, and then weigh out 176. And actually for this recipe, I went a little bit over on that. It says to saute your onion first in a little bit of olive oil, so you can do that. Just for the sake of this video and being efficient, I'm gonna skip that. I'm just gonna put all of it in because quinoa is pretty easy. You just cook it all in one pot. So I weighed out my 176 grams of quinoa. Next, you want 2 cups of bone broth. So 1 cup of bone broth is 240 milliliters. So obviously we want 2. We're gonna multiply that by 2, and that's 480 milliliters. So I'm gonna switch my scale to milliliters, make sure it's cleared out. And then I'm going to go to 480. Bone broths are really good. You could do this with water or just regular, but bone broth is really good. It's really high in protein, antioxidants. It's good for your bones and joints. Especially with everything going on right now, it's just so good for your health. It's good to add into anything that you're cooking. So 480, we got a ways to go. All right, so 480 milliliters on that. Next is a 1/4 cup salsa. So I actually weighed out a 1/2 cup salsa. So I actually weighed out. If you don't know how to translate tablespoons to cups, you can just put the cup on the scale, clear it out, fill it up, and then see how much that weighs. I did that, and it came out to 100 grams. So I'm gonna put 100 grams of salsa in my pot, and I'm gonna use a spoon so I don't make a mess. So back to grams on my scale, gonna go to 100. Okay. Making a mess here. Okay. Then the last thing is a 1/4 of an onion. So I chopped up an onion, a 1/4 cup of an onion. So I chopped up about a 1/4 cup, and that is going to be about 50 grams. So on that, just make sure, sometimes your weights might come out a little bit different than mine on something like a 1/4 cup of an onion, and that's fine. Just make sure when you put it in my FitnessPal, you're putting it as the accurate weight. Okay, so I'm gonna try to show you this on my FitnessPal without making it too complicated. So if you go to more, you're going to go my meals, recipes, and foods, and then you're gonna go down to the bottom to create a recipe. From there, I like to go to enter ingredients manually. You can, if you have a website that has a recipe, you can go there and like import it, but for this I'm going to enter ingredients manually. So I'm going to enter my title and my number of servings. So when you start this, I want you to, on number of servings, you can put whatever. You can just put 1 for right now until you know what your entire batch weighs. So I put all my information in here. I titled it Spanish quinoa. I put 4 servings for right now. I'm gonna show you how to go back and adjust that in a little bit. And then I put in all my ingredients. So 176 grams quinoa, 480 milliliters bone broth, 100 grams salsa, 50 gram white onion. So then I'm going to go to the next. So it's gonna have you match your ingredients. So here I can click on my quinoa, and I like to go and search for alternative, and I'm gonna go to my scan feature, and then I'm going to take my bag of quinoa here. Don't mind the salsa on the counter. And I'm going to scan my bag. And scan my bag, it pops right up. So we know that I went right off this bag, so it's gonna be accurate. So it's saying a half cup cooked. I'm gonna go to 2 of those, so it's a full cup. And I cross-checked my nutrition facts on the bag and on here, and they're right. So I'll confirm that. Then we're gonna go to the next, bone broth. So again, I'm gonna cross check my ingredients, which I did. That's this, it's reading the same exact nutrition facts as on the box. You could scan that in as well, but I know that it's correct, so I'm just going to hit confirm. Next is my salsa. I'm gonna scan this one. So I'm gonna search for alternative, scan. We'll take my salsa container, scan it. Maybe, there we go. That ended up being, and then the tablespoons to the half cup ended up being 4 servings of that salsa. So I put in 4. And then the white onion, 50 grams. Those nutrition facts look about right, so I'm gonna confirm that. And we're all good to go. So then we're going to head on over. So it'll give us the breakdown for 4 servings, but I'm not gonna keep it as 4 servings. So I'm gonna cook my quinoa, and then I'm gonna show you how to figure out the servings. So my quinoa's done cooking, and one point I wanna say is that for actually probably most recipes, you would want to weigh before and after. For this, the weight of something like this isn't going to change that much. And honestly, as long as you weigh it after, then that's better than nothing, so that you can know how many servings. So now that it's done, I turned my scale to ounces, and I'm going to weigh out my whole batch. So I'm just gonna put it in a bowl. So if it was something that was like in a pan that you wanted to keep in the pan, I would weigh the pan empty beforehand, put all your food in, weigh it, cook it, and then put it back on, and then weigh it, subtract the weight of the pan. So that way you would know your cooked weight. So for this, we can easily just dump it in. So it weighs 1 pound 9 ounces. So what is that? 1 pound 16 ounces. So plus 9 is 25 ounces. So your entire batch weighs 25 ounces. So then what we're gonna do is go back to my Fitness Pal, and I know that we have 25 1-ounce servings, so I'm gonna go back to my servings, adjust that to 25, and so your macros for each serving is gonna be really, really low, but that way when you take from your batch in 1-ounce servings, you can just take from it and from 1 ounce serving, so it makes it really simple. So say today I wanted to log my recipe at dinner. I would go in, I would go to my recipes, I would do Spanish quinoa, and say I knew I wanted to have 5 ounces. I would go to servings, because now I know 1 serving's 1 ounce. I'm gonna go to servings and I'm gonna do 5. So that way 5 I can know is 13 carbs, 6 protein, 1 fat. If somebody else in the family wanted 3 ounces or 7 ounces, everybody can adjust accordingly, so it makes it really easy. So hopefully I simplified the recipe feature for you. I'll continue to try to put out some different recipes so you can see the different ways of doing it in different scenarios. But let me know if you guys have any questions, and we're happy to answer them for you. We know that this recipe feature can be a little bit of a learning curve.